We're so used to the youthful images of some of our most beloved cartoon characters that it's hard to imagine what they look like as adults. Well, by the time you're done with this video, you'll never be able to see them the same way again after seeing what they look like all grown up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join our notification squad so you get the first glance at our new content. Dexter's Laboratory. If you were a kid in the 90s, there's a good chance that you remember tuning in for an episode of Dexter's Laboratory. This show was a huge hit on Cartoon Network and followed the experiments of a young boy genius named Dexter. Despite his brilliance, his plans were constantly thwarted by his hapless sister Dee Dee or his bitter rival and fellow genius Mandark. In pictures of him reimagined as older, he's still seen sporting his iconic white lab coat. This picture from artist Eric Chen shows Dexter sporting a modern pompadour hairstyle and wearing a trendy pair of glasses. While it may look at first glance like there is a shadow of Harley Quinn behind him, we're willing to bet that's his pigtailed sister Dee Dee. Another image by illustrator Isaiah Stevens shows Dee Dee, Dexter, and Mandark all standing together. It seems that Dexter never really got that growth spurt that he hoped for, as his sister and nemesis both tower over him. Although it's fun to imagine the cast all grown up, some people argue that the cartoon itself was a bit too adult for kids. There are several questionable scenes, and one episode was outright banned for its inappropriate content. Powerpuff Girls. When the 2016 reboot of this cartoon was announced, our nostalgia senses shot through the roof. Although we were so excited to see the Powerpuff Girls back in action, the girls still appear as children and not as adults. In order to see what they would look like as Powerpuff women, we had to turn to the various fan artists who had imagined them this way. The leader, Blossom, is still rocking her classic bow, and her stance makes her look incredibly fierce. Buttercup still kinds of reminds us even more of Sporty Spice when we see her pictured as an adult. Bubbles looks like she hasn't yet grown out of her pigtails and opts for a retro-looking dress with a high neckline. In the version by Isaiah Stevens, the girls are all wearing outfits that are more in keeping with their classic look. We love that he uses subtle details such as Blossom's smirk and Buttercup's fierce eyes to depict their personalities. Artist Stanley Lau depicts the girls in the most realistic style yet, and it seems that they've added white gloves to their uniforms. Buttercup has also opted to wear either a pair of shorts or a romper, which is probably a wise decision given the amount of time they spend flying through the air. Steven Universe. Steven Universe is sometimes referred to as the most grown-up kids show on television, so it makes sense that the titular character Steven has been envisioned as an adult by many fans. We aren't sure if there was a meeting of some sort, but everyone seems in agreement that he'll be a rather hairy adult with a large beard. In this image created by John Siberian, Steven looks like he's been working out, although he still has a little bit of a belly hanging over his pants. Another artist imagined Steven with incredibly long hair as he created this anime-style drawing of him and Connie. A watercolor-style picture shows him looking similar and highlights that his hair is still full of impossible curls. Some people prefer to imagine that as an adult, Steven will embrace the naturally curly texture of his hair and go for full-on dreadlocks and more of a punk rock aesthetic. Most pictures seem to give him a more casual style, but he's also been imagined wearing a button-up shirt, albeit with the buttons slightly undone, exposing what seems to be a furry chest. Hey Arnold! The kids from Hey Arnold are so strange looking to begin with that it's really difficult to picture them in the real world. After all, the titular character is frequently called Football Head by his classmate and secret admirer Helga. In this picture by Isaiah Stevens, we can see the entire cast with much more realistic proportions than we are used to. In fact, it was a bit hard to recognize them at first. Arnold has apparently embraced the hipster aesthetic, while Jared looks like a male model. Helga certainly looks more feminine than we are used to seeing her, but she's still striking a pose that suggests her attitude and quickness with her fist is unchanged. Nuri Dur has also imagined what the kids of PS 118 would look like once they've graduated, and these drawings are more in keeping with the art style that we're used to. We especially like that Helga's style now seems to reflect her inner attitude instead of being forced to wear dresses and bows. Eugene also looks much different with an undercut and stubble. He's dressed like he should be chilling on a yacht instead of causing mishaps with his clumsiness. Oh, and who could forget Brainy, the creepy-looking kid who is also a creepy-looking adult? Well, we suppose some things just don't change. Kim Possible. Being a high school girl who spends her spare time saving the world has to be pretty tough, so it's not entirely surprising that in this image by Isaiah Stevens, she hasn't updated her outfit. Hey, when you find something that works, go with it. In a different picture, we see Shigo has completely changed her hairstyle to something far edgier. It also looks like she and Dr. Draken got pretty close with the passing of time, such as that adorable bundle she's holding that looks pretty familiar. Wade has grown a little bit of facial hair and a lot of muscles. Looks like he's been doing more than slurping down soda and checking the web. Ron, oh Ron, it looks as though the years have not been kind to you. He now has a mullet, stubble, and a creepy sort of leer, and he's wearing gray sweatpants with flip-flops. We guess things with Kim didn't quite work out. Kim looks like she's decided to start work as a legitimate hero instead of just freelancing in her spare time. Although all these takes are great, we have to admit that the pictures showing Kim and Ron still working as a team and a couple are our favorites. We showed you a picture of Spongebob earlier, and we promised that we'll show you some strange versions of your underwater friends of Bikini Bottom. But before then, see if you can answer this bit of trivia. Underwater lurks the rare and dangerous Alaskan bullworm. What is the only word that an Alaskan bullworm can say? Keep watching for the answer. Rugrats. Despite there being a follow-up to Rugrats called All Grown Up, we have yet to see our favorite cartoon kids actually grown up. We love seeing modern versions of our favorite characters that incorporate current fashion and trends. In this picture by artist Celeste Peel, Chucky has gotten way more hip than we remember, and it appears that he's a Star Trek fan as well. We hope that's a cup of Earl Grey, Finster. Susie seems to have grown up into a sophisticated woman who isn't afraid of high fashion. Angelica may have grown up, but her style still appears as high maintenance as ever. We can see that Kimmy hasn't changed her funky style or her love of Reptar. Love the green hair. Phil and Lil are still a fan of that green color, but it looks like they're both trying to branch out and have their own style, instead of feeling the need to perfectly match. And of course, there's Tommy, who looks totally different. Thankfully, his head is much less lumpy, or at least his haircut hides it really well, and we're glad to see that after all this time, faithful Spike is still right by his side. Recess. Our Saturday mornings would have been much less joyful without our weekly episode of Recess. Although the characters were perpetually in school, we always wondered what they would be like as adults. Isaiah Shelton imagines the gangs in a fairly literal interpretation of what they were like as children. TJ is finally wearing a coat that isn't too big for him, and Mikey and Gus look like they've been lifting some weights. We love Spinelli's style and sneer. Vince looks like he's kept up with his basketball, and Gretchen looks like she had some dental work done. Checking out some pictures of other characters, we can see that the squirrely Randall has horrifyingly been named Principal, and there was nothing that could be done for his rapidly receding hairline. King Bob looks like he's just gotten pudgier and hairier, and oh gross, is he still sitting on that same chair? Oh Bob, no. In this image of Gretchen, she actually appears to have evolved significantly style-wise, but still comes across as sophisticated and intelligent. Spinelli looks like she could be competing in her local roller derby, and the notorious tomboy actually appears to be sporting a little makeup. Doug. Isaiah Stevens reimagined almost the entire cast of Doug as adults, which was no small feat. Although they all look much more realistic, their skin tones are still in the same unnatural hues we've come to expect. It looks like Doug finally let go of those 8 scraggly hairs on top of his head and opted for the clean-shaven look instead. His sister Judy looks incredible, and it appears she's incorporated a little goth into her boho look. Patty has finally managed to get her hair under control and now looks sleek and sophisticated. Skeeter looks pretty much just like we all remember him, except apparently he no longer needs those orange knee pads. Roger's nose is still a little overly large, but he does look much more handsome and less goofy looking than we are used to. In a picture of Doug, Patty, and Skeeter, it looks like they've all gone a little alternative in terms of style. The boys are rocking flat tops and all 3 are sporting some major ink. However, no matter how old he gets, Doug is still representing Quailmen, although thankfully he's wearing his underwear inside of his pants. Ed, Edd, and Eddy. A show so nice they named it thrice. We loved watching the neighborhood kids enjoy their summers on Ed, Edd and Eddy. Now we get to see how they look as adults who can presumably eat all the jawbreakers they want. Ed's posture has certainly improved, and he's grown into those massive arms. Double D looks like he could work in IT, although he's still inexplicably rocking that beanie in the summertime. Eddy got some ink and a haircut, but it looks like he hasn't had a growth spurt yet. Kevin looks pretty much how we would imagine he would, and now wears a shirt that says dork. Wait, is he the dork now, or is he calling us a dork and letting his shirt do the talking? Kevin, we have questions for you. We see Johnny is still hanging out with Plank, who also seems to have gotten larger. Johnny, we have some questions for you as well. In this other picture, we see the Kanker sisters haven't exactly gotten any classier since we last saw them. Although they're finally close to the guys, who overall look less than thrilled. SpongeBob. Wait, how old is SpongeBob SquarePants? We know he lives in a pineapple under the sea, etc., but not how old he is. Well, it turns out that the show's creator has kept his age vague on purpose as a plot device. Most of the animals represented on the show don't age in the same way that we do, so what if they were human? This series of photos show all your favorite denizens of Bikini Bottom as if they were humans. And it kind of looks like they're getting ready to go to some sort of underwater rave or something. Except for some inexplicable reason, human Sandy still has a squirrel tail. This picture of SpongeBob and Patrick shows the boys looking rather lovely, and we love Patrick's facial expression, which surprisingly translates rather well from starfish to human. Other images in a more classical cartoon style show the characters as looking more like young adults, except for poor Squidward, who appears as a cantankerous old man. Although we'd probably be pretty upset about the wasting of perfectly good ice cream too, Squidward. SpongeBob looks as cheerful and happy as ever, despite his human work hat not fitting any better than his sponge one. Ouch! Oh no, we're fine, thanks for asking. We were just telling you the answer to our trivia question from earlier. According to the show SpongeBob, the Alaskan bullworm can only utter the word ouch. Now that we've changed the way you'll look at your beloved childhood characters forever, we understand if you're done with cartoons forever. Luckily, we have plenty of videos here at The Richest to keep you occupied. You can even join our notification squad so that you don't miss a single video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to give us a like before you leave. Bye for now.